Here is the world's worst kept secret. There are hackers and thieves out there who every single second of every single day are doing nothing but looking for ways to steal your money and your identity. And no matter what you do, they're always one step ahead of you and the banks. So maybe it's time the banks did something radical to bring this battle back into line. Let's welcome to MidPoint a consumer advocate with more than 30 years experience and a nationally recognized expert on security, privacy, and identity theft, Adam Levin. Adam, thank you so much for joining us here today. Can he hear us? I shook his head properly there. He can't hear us right now. So we'll hook up that. The head shake was perfect. Let's remind you just a little bit of where we're going here today. The banks, as a matter of fact, are talking about not just using traditional passwords, but they're talking about what is called voice printing. It's biometric voice printing on your call, on the caller's voice. So in other words, if you call the bank at any time, let's say you call your bank and they are talking to you, they're asking, of course, your information, a lot of your pertinent numbers, anything else you may have. But there's now the lead to make sure that people get the voice print. The banks get the voice print. They can put that all together. They know exactly who you are, and then they can decide if you are the right person. Do we have Adam back? I guess not yet. Okay. Voice printing, by the way, already used for law enforcement and by governments. Now, the government's already doing this. Here's the thing that you need to consider, because you're already on the phone with your banks, you're already on the phone with your credit card companies, you're already on the phone with anybody else with whom you give very pertinent and very private information. 90% chance that they are already recording your voice. They're taking your voice, they file it away, and then they check it. They run it under a voice print. So let's take a couple of minutes that we have left. Adam Levin is here. Adam, can you hear me now? Hello, Adam Levin. Can you hear me now? He cannot hear me, unfortunately. The string is broken between here and New York City, unfortunately. We're going to see if we can take a moment. I don't know, so we'll see what happens here. Anyway, the Associated Press says that the technique is extremely successful in reducing fraud. It's growing in popularity, but here's the problem. It's already illegal. This is called biometric data. It is already illegal to share this data in some states. If you live in Illinois, you can't share this data. So furthermore, the implications of banks controlling this database are the biggest legal problem that we have right now, because the privacy advocates are saying, wait a minute, you've already got so much information on hand, now you're going to have a voice on hand. They're concerned about what happens to that. Is it going to be able to use someplace else? But let's look at it from another standpoint. While the ACLU doesn't necessarily like it, it's very difficult at times to get the voice right, because we're not just talking about, you can do a voice impersonation here. There's inflections in the voice that they're looking into. So they're looking to use these voice prints to guard against fraud. Something else now that you need to think about. All right, he can finally, Adam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Ed.
Unfortunately, well, I tell you what we're going to do. You're going to hang tight, because we have a minute here. I'm going to ask you a question, and we're going to take a break. I'm going to have you come back here in the last segment, because I want to make sure we get a couple of minutes with you. So 1 minute to go here, and then we're going to talk more. But is this, in your opinion, a good idea to put all these voice prints on record and for companies to hold on to them?
Okay, you want me to answer that now?
Yes, sir, I would. Yeah, go ahead and answer it now, and then we'll take a break. Go ahead.
Okay. Listen, it's a double-edged sword. On one side, anything that we can do that can more uniquely identify and authenticate an individual is critical because of all of the breaches and the fraud that's going on. But there are all of the other privacy questions that have been raised by this that really need to be addressed. And one of the critical questions has to do with security. And that is that if we're going to have a massive voice print database, like for instance 65 million right now spread through different databases, what happens if it's hacked, and what happens if the bad guys actually get their hands on these voice prints and then can use them in connection with a name?
That is exactly it. Now, I'll tell you what, I apologize again for the problems getting the voice connection done here. See, it's all about voices here, one way or another. But Adam, if you would, please sit comfortably there. We're going to come right back after a break, dig into this a little bit more as we continue right here with a little voice printing on MidPoint.